Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you so much for joining us for our Thursday weather update across New Zealand, Australia and the South Pacific Islands. And at the moment, it's still very unsettled in New Zealand, but settling down across Australia. Large high pressure, which you can see in the brighter shading, whereas the darker shading shows low pressure. So this stormy system is still stuck over the New Zealand area at the moment, and these windy westerlies of spring are going to continue on for the rest of November, basically. We've got a little bit of a low pressure zone coming through on Sunday and Monday, but apart from that, it's mostly westerly driven in the New Zealand area. And up in the tropics, pretty quiet for this time of the year, and also considering we are still in La Nina for now. La Nina is likely to be gone though, probably by the end of the year. So let's have a look at the animated thunderstorm map. This is brought to you by Weather Watch and IBM's high resolution lightning data, and you can see here we've still got more of those thunderstorms when we recorded this on Thursday morning coming into the western side of the country, along with big heavy squalls and some widespread areas of rain. That will clear through, and then afterwards we've just got the usual windy westerlies. Elsewhere, most thunderstorms are out at sea. There are a couple around Queensland and Western Australia, and also a few up here around Samoa. Let's have a look now at the rainfall. 5 days of rainfall coming up. The areas with the heaviest rain in pink, so that's the Eastern Bay of Plenty, the western side of the North Island, and parts of the West Coast, around 45-50 millimetres in those areas. So not huge totals, and the driest areas will be likely around Marlborough and Nelson and northern parts of Canterbury, also out here around Hawke's Bay. Let's have a look at the 5-day forecast for Australia. It's been a long time since we've seen all the rain on the top half of the country, but that's what we're seeing from Broome to Darwin and over to Cairns. And these totals for 5 days, still not a huge amount. The biggest we're seeing is around 70 or 80 millimetres here in parts of Queensland. So let's have a look at the forecast. Here we are now for Friday, the end of the working week, and New Zealand is pretty unsettled. We're pretty much stuck in this blast coming out of the Southern Ocean. So southerlies straight on in. You've got those temperatures dropping at the moment in the South Island. Not so much of a difference in the North Island. And the showers aren't quite so frequent, and they're not quite as widespread and heavy as we've been seeing. And the thunderstorms shouldn't be quite as widespread as well. And here's a sight for sore eyes. Beautiful big area of high pressure moving into Victoria and New South Wales after all that rain that you've been having. So let's go into the weekend, and it's still mostly settled across Australia, but this weak area of high pressure, it's only just technically a high. Average air pressure is 10-13, and this is 10-15 hectopascals. So that is out at sea, and we've got this area of low pressure forming. There's a lot going on in New Zealand on Saturday. The best way to monitor the wind and the rain is to go to ruralweather.co.nz, and yes, that includes even if you're in downtown Auckland. We are going to take the graphs from Rural Weather and put them into Weather Watch at some point in 2023 and in our app. Now the other feature here on Saturday, there's another surge of colder southerlies coming into the lower South Island. It is going to feel a little bit wintry for a time down around Southland and Otago this coming weekend. Now on Sunday, that southerly gets kind of pushed away, fades out, but it will still be cold in the morning. So a cold day on Saturday, a coldish day on Sunday. And here is this low pressure zone around the North Island driving in patchy kind of rain. There might be a few heavy falls. Many other places though could just have sort of drizzly falls in the mix. And then down in the Southern Ocean, the next blast of windy spring westerlies come through. Tasmania is the first to get them, and they're not so bad for Adelaide and Melbourne, not quite so windy in those areas. So next week kicks off with a few showers, and actually New Zealand's got one of the more settled days we've seen in about 10 days. So it's not perfect, but there's sort of the sou'westers fading in the North Island with a few showers. And in the South Island on Monday, nor'westers are building. And you've got a cold front reaching Fiordland, a very weak one, coming through later on. Tasmania, you're in those windy westerlies once again. And certainly on Tuesday, you get a bit of a cold blip coming through, so Hobart's got a temperature drop on Tuesday. New Zealand's mild though. Look at the winds. They're coming from Fiji and Vanuatu and New Caledonia and down across the country. And if you don't have that subtropical wind on Tuesday, you've got this airflow coming out from Australia with the nor'westers. So either way, it's pretty mild in the New Zealand area, whereas these are southerlies coming through for New South Wales. And our final map for Wednesday shows yet another classic cold front coming through and across the country. So mild at the top, and then a cooler change, colder in fact for Southland once again, and we're still windy over Tasmania. This is normal spring weather to some degree. I mean, we do get blasts like this at this time of the year. They usually tend to fade away at the end of December in a season like this one. So we will see. Our next Climate Watch update, that's the outlook for summer, December in more detail, but also summer as well. That's coming out next week on the 1st of December, and that will be our last one for this year. And that is all from me for today. We'll see you again tomorrow, Friday, with our next update.